Welcome to Bonehead Weekly. My audio works because James says he can hear me.
That's true. I can indeed hear him.
What?
Or
That's what I was saying.
is this one of them elaborate ruses?
Ruses? No, I ain't going to. I'm going to put ruses on your grave.
Somebody should. Matter of fact, let's go dig it now. I don't want to have to pay for it later. If we do it now, I don't have to pay later.
Well, or that's that ruses that they had in that hazard. Did you guys have the ruses growing up?
Oh yeah. Before the Walmarts ever came to town, we had a
Before the
ruses.
Walmarts, and then the ruses got ran out by the Walmart.
Now before the ruses, we had the hex.
I remember Hex. Well, yeah, because Hex replaced what was it called? What was the
Maloney's?
One for Maloney's? That's right, Maloney.
See, I can do this all day.
Yeah. Now that ain't as fancy as your TG and Ys. They had them there in the downtown hazards.
Yeah. No, that was finery.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm lost.
Well, that's because you grew up in a place that had no finery.
No.
You went out, you killed your dinosaur, and you put on whatever hide it left behind. And then you went to get your schoolings.
We stuck cattails up our ass for fun.
Hey, Jack.
That had nothing to do with your clothing.
No, it didn't. Jack, can I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
But it's going to give away some of your personal life.
Like what part of his personal life? Not that body that he keeps in his trunk, right?
No, not the things people already know that just for some odd reason, inexplicable reason, choose to ignore. Why the federal
how does that affect the resale value on your car, Chad?
Well, it is about his car. So, Chad, can I say that you got a new car?
Sure.
Well,
new to him, right?
You kind of already said it, so can't say no.
Oh, I don't remember. But
he could edit it out.
So you got a new car. You offered to sell me your old one.
Well, no, yes, but for years you've been saying that when I get rid of this car, you want to buy it.
But you totally forgot about it. Never bothered to tell me.
No, that's true.
And then you're like, "Oh, I thought you were joking." And then he's going to go sell it. Calls me up on the way to sell it. And says, "Hey, you want to buy it? I just remembered I should have asked you."
Okay, so far.
Okay, we're all on the same page. This is the friendship that we have. He is literally on his way to sell it going, "Yeah, I probably should have asked you." Well, I wanted to get it from my mom. And I said, "Well, hold on. Let me call you back." Didn't. My mom says, "I don't know. What is it?" Long story short, these two knuckleheads know what my mom drives. She's going to die any day. Well, the vehicle's going to die.
The car. Good God.
Car. Well, eventually it's coming for us all. James, none of us.
No, nobody gets out alive.
No one's getting out alive.
You can't beat the house. You can't break even. You're just going to die.
She asked what it looked like, and I said it had 4 tires, working AC, and did not have a broken frame. That's how I pitched your car.
Luxury.
And I said I'd pay for part of it. She still didn't want it. I called her earlier. She goes, "I found another," and this is the same woman who wouldn't buy a Toyota. Goes, "I found a Camry. Chad, it has about 10,000 less miles than yours.
Yep.
Rebuilt title.
Yep.
Twice the money." She goes, "Do you think that's a good price?" I had to bite my lower lip and restrain myself because my six-year-old was with me in my lap from throwing my Samsung phone across the floor, across the room into a wall. I'm literally twice the price of what I was going to. It may be yours for all I know.
So
I don't have a rebuilt title on it.
I've seen it.
I've got a question.
Needed one.
I've got a question real quick, Joe. You're keeping us in suspense. Was it a good price?
Well, I thought the Chad's price was a good price. I thought he could get a little bit more. In fact, I encouraged him to get a little bit more. I told him to go on Marketplace and try to get more. I was trying to be a friend as opposed to the one who's like, "I'm on the way to sell this right now. You want it?" I forgot. Or me being a good son of, "Hold on, I'll try to pay part of it and get it for my mother." I don't know. What do you think about them Toyotas? My mother sounds nothing like that. I want you all to just hear that story. I mean, if we can't share our life stories, then what good is the radio that we're on? This is the radio.
Is this a Mexican radio?
Yes.
Mexican radio.
Yes.
Radio.
So
Radio.
and by the way, neither one of you all replied to my text asking, am I missing something in Wonder Woman 1984?
Joe, there's a reason
I didn't see it until you sent the emails about your text about the computer. No, you didn't.
I swear, I was like, none of my friends will text me back to tell me that I am not insane.
The reason I didn't respond, Joe, is haven't seen it. Now you would think I would. Like my
you would have think I would have. All of us would have.
My kids loved the first.
I saw it opening. I saw it the first day it came out.
My kids loved the first one. Yeah, no, I do too.
I don't.
But honestly, as soon as it came out, as soon as the second one came out, literally, even my kids were like, "It just doesn't look the same. It doesn't look." And so we never went.
It's not. It's tonally a different movie.
My kids from the trailer, and my kids, by the way, are and were then relatively young, right? They're not exactly movie snobs, but even my kids were like, it doesn't look the same.
It was poor. It was poorly written. There's plot holes that make no sense. I mean, and the other thing, again, it's that whole thing with movies where they try to make attractive women look nerdy, and it's Kristen Wiig.
It doesn't work. Yeah,
it doesn't work. I mean, Kristen Wiig as a nerd is still like everybody's ignoring her. I'm like, who would ignore that? None of it makes sense.
Well, okay, but I think Kristen Wiig's funny. So, but I don't find her attractive. So even when she's all dressed up and supposed to be, I was like, oh, that's still just Kristen Wiig. Oh, they took the glasses off.
Yeah, that's it.
Really, that was it. And it's by the way, I don't expect Kristen Wiig to find me attractive either. She's a funny lady though.
Hilarious.
Tonally, it's just a completely different movie, and it's the same director.
Yeah, it was awful.
I couldn't wrap my mind around it. My kid kept asking because he woke up in the middle of it because he's been sick all week going, can we turn this off? Why can't we turn this off?
I was like that with the girls. My girls loved it because again, it's a female superhero, strong, powerful. But the whole time
she's all that strong and powerful in this.
The whole time I was like
going after a dead man.
Can we turn this off? Yeah, and they wimpified Wonder Woman, which they shouldn't have done. It's just all of it's not good.
Now, how do your daughters feel about that Helen Slater Supergirl movie?
They liked it.
I mean, honestly, I think
I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
As a kid, I remember. I mean, but then again, we lived in the great desert of, oh my God, at least we got a superhero something.
Yeah, at least this is something.
Right.
And it had Peter O'Toole.
Now that's all we get.
Peter O'Toole replaced Marlon Brando and did a better job than Marlon Brando.
Ooh.
Oh, the glove is thrown. I wonder how Marlon.
I have to go watch it now.
I wonder how Marlon Brando will respond. Oh wait, I bet he won't.
Which leads me to our next point, which isn't our next point. I couldn't make it through the Little Mermaid movie.
That's what I haven't seen, largely because I think the last Disney remake of an animated film I saw was Beauty and the Beast.
That one's dreadful.
So, yeah, I am not. I can't comment on this because I'm not a huge Disney fan, and especially the princess movies I'm not a fan of. My girls loved it, and to all the racist assholes who gave Halle Berry shit for being an African for being
Halle Belly or something like that.
I'm butchering her name.
Fun. Yeah,
but she was perfect casting for that mermaid for Ariel, in my opinion.
I don't know if I agree with that.
She fit it to a T. She did everything that the cartoon did, and put her own little spin on it. I have no complaints, but I was not a fan.
I didn't see a spin. All I saw was a movie that was a remake of the cartoon, and the cartoon works really well on its own. What I wanted to say is, and every time they added a song, the new song stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
But again, that's for old people who like us who have seen the original. This might be introducing new people.
Okay, you have me up until the ageism, because what I will say is that once again, back to tone and just fit, they do not match the other one. And I'm sure what it is they don't have Howard Ashman laying around to write new songs for it.
Right, for
no, he's on the
But
DL.
again, you're an adult male who watched it as a kid, who watched the cartoon as a young adult, whatever you want to call yourself. Little girls who are watching this is just seeing the Little Mermaid and enjoying the story and the songs.
I guess my 6-year-old didn't care for it. We were both on the same page during it.
Yeah,
but what I want to say about them is
I ain't heard him cheer since American History X.
Artistically, it's superfluous. The only one that I thought where they kind of did something slightly different was the Aladdin one.
Yeah.
And I thought that was boring as hell.
I take that back. I did see Aladdin. I saw Aladdin on a flight.
I don't even know. I don't know that I recommend it.
And the whole thing where they're in the cave, I couldn't see anything. I don't know about you all. It was like it was lit like the Game of Thrones.
Artistically, the only one that I was like, well, they did slightly something different.
Slightly, but it's still the same thing as all the other ones.
I get it that they're cash. I hate saying cash cows, but they're licensed to print money. I get that.
Yeah,
and it's IP, and it's all we care about is intellectual property and branding. In so many facets of our lives, but they're so redundant.
Yeah. I'm just waiting until Oppenheimer 2 comes out. I want to see where that story's going.
Yeah, this time he drops a bomb on you.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with anything you're saying. Yeah, it's all the cash grabs, and it's the same thing told over again.
Now that being said,
a lot of times done in a poor way. So
that being said, when that live action Moana movie comes out, I'll go see that.
Oh, are they making one?
Yeah.
Yeah, The Rock is playing Maui in live action. I'm like,
that's a little on the nose.
Is he actually playing Maui?
Somebody told me he was. Maybe I was misinformed, but somebody told me that they wanted him to come back and play it. And I'm like, okay, that's the way you do a remake. Oh, he voiced it in the cartoon. Guess he's coming back. I don't know if I heard that rumor. I don't know if that's true or not. But
I didn't think he was.
With the strike and everything going on, quite frankly, and by the way, The Rock, if you happen to hear this, don't take this the wrong way. He needs a hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and by the way,
cocaine.
By the way, so do I. So he's at least had
need cocaine.
He's had several hits, whereas I have had no hits.
He could afford to give you one of his hits of cocaine.
But no, and so, but anyway, I think the live. I think they're doing it though for Disney Plus.
Everything I'm reading right now says The Rock or Dwayne Johnson is coming back as the live action Maui.
Yep, I was gonna say that's what I heard. And I think they're doing the live action Lilo and Stitch for Disney Plus. But if that changes, but I'll go see that because Lilo and Stitch is one of my favorite modern Disney films.
Well, it couldn't be worse than the Disney Plus Pinocchio movie.
Oof. That one's another one I've never seen, Joe. I couldn't.
Oh my goodness,
couldn't do it. Yeah, and by the way, I will agree with Chad to a certain
actors.
Point. I will agree with Chad to a certain point. It wasn't made for me. It wasn't, and that's the thing. I'm now to the age where I get to say, where I have to say, if I want to feel good about my life at all, some things just aren't meant for me, and that's cool. Just say it's not meant for you.
Yeah,
I don't take joy away from others unless I have to, but most of the time, if you dig a movie, if you enjoy and can't wait till they make another Police Academy movie, more power to you.
Yeah, I will never shit.
I hope it happens. I hope it comes out. I hope it works out for you. Just know that I won't be there on opening day. Unless, of course, it's written by me, in which case, by the way, studio, do you want Police Academy? What number are they on? 7, 8? What are we doing?
You count if you're counting Mission to Moscow, that would be 7.
Yeah, the number 8.
Okay, if you want Police Academy, I will lovingly write it. I'll get Mahoney and Flipdo and whatever. I know I'm making a joke.
Motormouth Jones, Hightower won't be coming back. Neither will a House.
It could be with enough batteries.
Tackleberry's gone.
Tackleberry, that sounds like it should be a boat.
Way to go, Dr. Jerkface, for making Chadwick depressed.
I think isn't Squeaky Voice. She died last year too. Yeah, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Huh. Why am I forgetting her name?
Which means you know what I'm gonna do. It'll be their descendants coming back to reclaim the academy.
At least Commandant Lassard is still alive.
Well, we all get that going for us. Ain't that nice?
Crickets.
Ain't that nice that we got that going? No, but honestly,
is that George? He's not still alive, is he?
Shut up. Let me live my fantasy.
George Lazar. What is his last name? George. It's not
Papard.
Should you
I'm going to say George Papard.
Do you want me to go look at the poster?
George Papard's also dead. Dead as hell.
I know. I'm just going. I want to live in a world where George Papard did them police academy films
now,
or so he wants you to think.
Well, that's true.
But anyway, no, I think that's the other side of it. So weren't we going to talk about a topic?
Comedies.
Tonight?
We're not even we're 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in. We haven't got to our topic.
I'm sorry.
It's apropos of what we're talking about. That certain things
they don't make them for me.
They don't. I was going to say comedies, and I was hopeful.
But this is by the way, real quick, this is Mr. I don't like any movies nowadays.
Do you think it's
you?
No, I ain't that bullshit. First of all, you're bad for this. And second,
no, I'm not.
I actually texted the other day and said that I liked that whatever it was the other day. I was like,
go play episode blah 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 where you said nothing's really hit me, and I'm sitting there going, there's tons of movies out there that I like. What the hell are you talking about?
Dude, I loved and we've talked about it before, but Sisu, maybe
I still haven't got to watch it yet.
Oh god,
oh, it's so good.
Dude, if you
instead, I was watching Wonder Woman 84.
That was your choice.
I'm going to go ahead and
actually, it wasn't. Somebody else chose it, and I walked in on
it. That happened with me and my wife and the pool boy once.
Too bad Dana's the one that walked in.
Dude, free chlorine's free chlorine. I don't care who you are.
You know he ain't got nothing.
Making some of that chlorine gas.
Anyway, no, but it's all apropos of what we were going to talk about tonight. Is that there's not been a lot of comedies.
Is that a fancy mustard?
It should be. We should do that Bonehead brand apropos mustard.
I mean, shit. Maybe we try it. We damn sure can sell the show.
Joe, when you go to
it'll be trivia on Jeopardy 20 years from now. This famous mustard was started because of a failed podcast.
Joe's going to get a bottle of Frisch's mustard and Frisch's whatever, and put our Bonehead sticker on it. Apropos mustard. It's
French's mustard.
Is it French's?
Yeah, it's French.
I don't like yellow mustard, so I don't know.
Racist. What?
Ooh.
What mustard do you like, sir?
Any kind but yellow, actually.
So Dijon's okay?
Oh God, I love Dijon.
That's slightly yellow too.
Honey, I know. That's what I mean. He's just got layers.
The brand of mustard that says yellow mustard.
That's called Kroger.
French's calls it yellow too.
It's also actually, if you're really cheap at Kroger, they have the Kroger brand. They have a premium selection mustard, which is usually your Dijons and your.
And that's
whatnot.
good.
And then they have the Kroger brand, but if you're really desperate, they have that 70-cent small bottle of Hey, or is it? Psst, check this out.
Yeah, I bought a lot of psst in my life.
I'm always. By the way, I get some of the medication I get. I'll get that because it's just uncoated and it's cheaper. It's like $1 cheaper. I'm like, I don't need the coating. I'm here for the medication. No,
you're here for the high.
Yeah, I'm here for the
James, speaking of getting high, you were talking about our topic.
Well, so
why do it at this point,
Joe? Well, I start now. No, Joe had mentioned a couple of weeks ago that there had not been a lot of comedies, and it did make me think. And I was hopeful for the movie Strays because I was like, "Oh, that's got a pretty good cast."
Who saw Strays?
Me. I didn't because you did and told me that it met my prediction that it had about 3 or 4 lines in it, and that was
Ninja Turtles was what I was watching the other day. And Texas World was like, "I'm not too old." I enjoyed the hell out of the new Ninja Turtles.
But the week before that, literally go look at.
There's been a lot of shit. No, there's a lot of stuff. I am sick and fucking tired of superheroes. I am.
Oh, I know I am too. But there's plenty. I'm sick of Star Wars and superheroes. But there's plenty of other stuff out there.
Well, there's no Star Wars movies.
Well, there's plenty of TV shows that are god awful.
By the way, Chad, really? I was going to ask you.
I kind of like most of them. Ahsoka. I'm getting into Ahsoka.
Have you seen Blue Beetle, Chad?
Yeah, I saw it.
Is it good? I've heard good things.
It was good. It's nothing earth shattering. It's a typical superhero film, but because I love DC and I love Blue Beetle, I enjoyed it.
Well, I was going to say I read, And again, actually, I'm going by Geeks Online that it's the best DC movie in years.
No.
So I didn't know.
Captain Shazam.
Oh no, but Shazam, the first one's how old now?
At least 3 years, maybe 4.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I'd say it's about 4 because it came out.
Honestly, I enjoyed the Shazam Part 2 more than I did Blue Beetle, but I still like Blue Beetle.
No, I was about to say,
but honestly, and the person who I got to give credit for, who I've actually not really enjoyed much of anything that he's done, George Lopez stole that movie.
He was hyping it over the summer.
Yeah.
Way back before any of the strikes or anything, even before the summer. I guess it was in spring. And they were interviewing about something else. And he literally stopped and he goes, let me tell you about Blue Beetle. And then whoever was interviewing him, it was one of the talk shows. It wasn't David Letterman, I'll tell you that much. But anyway, they said, oh, yeah, go ahead and tell us about it. And I'm glad he went in and talked about it because the strike hit and he couldn't promote it now. But it was really interesting to hear him talk about it because he said, it's the first movie that's got a largely Latinx cast, largely. And he said it's A, we're due, and B, but he also said it's just also a lot of fun.
It is. That's all it is. It's fun. And
he says it's not one that you have to know 4,000. He goes, if you know the character, great. But if you don't.
That's where I went in, and I was, again, a minuscule, slight grain of sand annoyed that they changed a lot of the backstory of the character, but I easily overlooked it.
Was Blue Beetle Latinx?
The current one is.
The current one, Jaime Reyes is. I mean, before that, it was 2 white guys.
It was Ted Kord. Ted Kord was the second one, right?
Yeah. First one was Dan Garrison in the Silver Age, and then modern comics, it was Ted Kord. And
Ted Kord was basically Batman Tony Stark kind of character, right?
But not as good.
Yeah. But he was, huge industrialist, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, he was a rich guy who had gadgets, but was nowhere near as capable as Batman or Tony Stark, which was part of the appeal of him.
Yeah, he was, because I can remember the Blue Beetle comic in the 80s back when they were 75 cents. Let me put on my old man pants. But no,
I think I got that name wrong. I think it's Dan Garrett. Now I got to look it up because I said Garrison.
Yeah,
it's Dan Garrett. I'm an idiot.
Dan Garrison has Mr. Hat when he fights crime. Yeah. No, but anyway, what I was saying about is I remember reading a lot of the Blue Beetle because he teamed up a lot with
Booster
Gold and all that stuff.
Nobody can see it in the dark. I got my Booster Gold Blue Beetle box set action figures over here.
Yeah. But so anyway, no, apropos of nothing. That being said, I'm gonna keep saying apropos of nothing.
I know it's a drinking game.
I've been in 2 meetings today where I've had to say it to make a point. But so back to comedies, Joe was saying that there were no comedies recently that came out that really struck him as comedies.
And I have add-ons to this, but please go ahead.
Yeah, and I have a slight counter argument because there have been a few that I've actually enjoyed, and a couple that I'm actually really looking forward to that I haven't had a chance to go see yet.
Well, and I guess that's kind of my comment. Do you think that the issue is that there's not been a lot of pure comedies?
That's what I want to talk about. And what I want to say is that they go to streaming.
Yeah, because streaming movies tend to be more lower budget, and comedies can get away with that.
And they tend to, there's not a theater experience to go watch a comedy. And if there is, it's an action comedy. And back to James's point, it's either a horror comedy or an action comedy or something. There's just not.
It's got spectacle to it.
There is some sort of spectacle to do it. They go to streaming, and then when I see these on streaming, they're often Adam Sandler. They're often something or a horror comedy or something like that. There's not. Well,
and I will say, was it Hubie Halloween?
Yeah, I
enjoyed watching that with my kids. It was fun. It was not, but it wasn't great, but it was fun. I laughed a couple times.
At some point I should go see that. I should watch that. But
yeah, well, Halloween's coming back around.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'll put it this way: of all the ones that have been directed to Netflix, that's the one I enjoyed the most. So I haven't seen the one him and Jennifer Aniston did.
I haven't watched any Adam Sandler direct to Netflix movies. That's just a personal choice, simply as I don't. We have heard numerous times Adam Sandler is one of the nicest people in the industry. I don't disagree with that. I don't know that he's untalented. Just most of the time, I don't care about his movies.
Right.
Just a personal back to it's fine for anyone else. It's been a ongoing joke between a friend of mine, Dave, and me for all those years. What's the one where he's playing
Jack and Jill?
Jack and Jill. I got borrow your copy of Jack and Jill because I said I would probably never watch it.
God, that's over a decade-long joke now at this point, isn't it?
Well, there's a lot more that are even longer.
Yeah.
Your sister, over 20.
Man, Joe liking pie, you fat fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking
That's
of
over
pie,
20 years.
Chad's mom told me the other day I was looking younger. And what's great about this is it happened. I was waiting for him to smile. He's not smiling. No smiles. Looking younger. It's not too late for me to be your stepdad. Now,
moving Don't go for it. I told you can move in with my brothers anytime you want.
Oh, snap a doodle.
We'll take care of that. We just got to figure a way to configure her way out around this. But what was a comedy? So even the Borat sequel, did you guys watch it?
Yeah.
It was on Amazon. It's just not the same.
Well, can I make a point about that I think supports your arguments in some ways? So they came out, Esquire magazine, some of you may be familiar, came out with a list on their online website of the top 14, don't know why they picked 14, but top 14 comedies thus far of 2023. And I thought I'd go through this list. Coming in at number 14 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Now, I like Guardians of the Galaxy. There's parts of it that are really funny.
There's a couple of funny scenes in it.
Actually, I honestly think the part 3, and you guys can argue with me if you want, I think it's the least funny out of all of them.
It's the least movie out of all of them, I'll tell you that.
Well, actually, to me, it's got the most, it's probably the best at showing tragedy. And I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's the most dramatic, yeah.
Yeah, it is honestly, me and the kids, we went and saw it in the theater, and and Dana, we all loved it.
I did too.
But at the same time, it was one where I'm like, yeah, no, this one actually, and the fact that PETA came out and said this is a good one, and I was like, well, yeah, it shows you shouldn't mess with animals. I agree with that. Anyway, that was number 14, and so as I was looking at this list to prep for this episode, I thought, yeah, but that's not a comedy. That's not a straight comedy.
It's not a comedy. There's some funny scenes in it. I agree. No one's arguing with that, but it's not a straight comedy. It's not Caddyshack, and I'm not putting Caddyshack, but it's not. I'm trying to think of something that isn't. What's a comedy that's been made in the last 15 or 20 years that's funny, that was successful?
You want to talk about every Will Ferrell movie?
I was going to say, I don't know if it's in the last 15 years because I'm old. But I mean, Christopher Nolan came out and said one of the greatest comedies of all time was Talladega Nights. Did anybody see that
funny.
Interview?
Yeah,
he came out and he said that is the best comedy that's in recent history, and I'm like, Christopher. I just in my mind it's kind of like finding out that Mel Brooks Alfred Hitchcock enjoyed Mel Brooks movies. It's one of those like really cool. I mean, I get it, but I just I can't picture Christopher Nolan sitting down and being like, oh, let's watch Talladega Nights. I mean,
I agree with you. I can't imagine him in that long trench coat thing he wears on the set.
Yeah. But anyway, so. And I must admit, some of these I now need to go back and watch because I have seen Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 13 is Champions with Woody Harrelson.
Okay, I tried watching that, and it took through 20 minutes of it.
It's almost unwatchable. It's not even funny though.
I think I made it through the first 10 or 20 minutes.
No, it's not. It's not. No, it's a poorly written movie.
Had to turn it off.
Yeah.
What's next?
Number 12 is Operation. It'll be Operation Fortune Ruse
yeah, Guy Ritchie's Jason. I haven't had a chance to see it yet, so
yeah, I wanted to see it.
But it's another action comedy. It's not a straight comedy,
right?
Number 11, I think a lot of people enjoyed, and I will admit you should see it. It's a fun movie. I still don't think it's a pure comedy. That would be Cocaine Bear. 11th best comedy of the year.
I enjoyed it. Elizabeth Banks got literally everything you could get out of that concept. Yeah. And it's a decent, fun.
It's a horror comedy, but I mean,
it's a good movie if you're drunk with some friends.
No.
Number 10 is, and I'll admit now I don't get out much, so maybe I'm the only one that hasn't heard of this. Shotgun Wedding.
No, don't know it.
Yeah, I know it.
Jennifer Lopez and Josh.
Oh
Duhamel.
yeah, God, that's one of those
When
awful
I think of
rom-coms.
comedy, I think of those two.
Yeah,
It's about a couple that are traveling to a tropic island for their destination wedding, and a group of gangsters disrupt it.
Yeah,
man, the three that I was keep going because I want to get down to this list.
Number 9 is a direct to Netflix, and I'm not knocking Netflix, but like this proves your point, Joe. Yeah. And I need to watch it because I've heard good things about it. But You People, Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy.
I didn't watch it, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I've heard it's good. I haven't watched it yet. You have watched this one. Number 8 is A Man Called Ove, which they renamed A Man Called Otto. You mentioned that last week, Joe.
But I really enjoyed the movie, but I wouldn't call it a comedy.
Number 7, I admittedly also haven't seen, but it's a remake, House Party.
No, I can't. Yeah, I haven't watched that either.
I saw the trailer, and
yeah, and then it hit theaters and was gone the next week. And I'm not. Maybe it's great, and maybe it was overlooked, but it didn't last long in theaters.
That trailer looked rough. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Number 6, I want to see now, because I again, they're saying it's a comedy, but it sounds like a horror comedy at best. We Have a Ghost.
Okay. So, did you see it, Joe?
I once again was 20 minutes into it, looked at Christy and said, "Okay, I thought this was a comedy."
There is, yeah. I've watched it all the way through. There is barely a comedic element into it. The only time there's a comedic element in it is when Jennifer Coolidge comes in, and even then, that's not that funny.
I turned it off. I like it. I tell you, the best in another show that I will defend back to. I was thinking I was getting old and grumpy. Enjoyed the hell out of Twisted Metal. That's much funnier than the 10, 15, 20 minutes I saw of We Have a Ghost.
Twisted Metal's hilarious. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It's a lot funnier. Once again, action comedy with a lot of horrific elements poured into it. But
James,
and he's hilarious in that show.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 is Maybe I Do.
Nope. No idea.
Nope. Assuming that's another rom-com.
It's a rom-com with Richard Gere, Diane Keaton, Susan Sarandon, and William H. Macy. By the way, God. I hear the cast, and I'm like, but
that pass. Keep going.
Number 4, Chad, and I know you're going to hear this and cheer because you love this film so much, and I know you're just going to talk about the rest of the episode, but I'll go ahead and say it. Number 4 is 80 for Brady.
Oh God, that movie is so bad. It is so bad. I can't. The fact I'm getting pissed off with this list because this list is so wrong so far. But 80 for Brady, there's not 1 ounce of funny in it. Other than Sally Field. Sally Field is the steam stiller for that awful movie.
I give credit to any movie that has Rita Moreno in it, but it doesn't make it funny. Like, I give them credit. She's normally pretty good, but
she's the least. She's in it the least.
Well, that's just probably what went wrong. You get your Rita Moreno. You give her front and center every scene.
No, seriously, so Sally Field. If you can get through all the awfulness of that movie, if you can enjoy the Sally Field scenes, it's worth watching.
Number 3, by the way, you may get more angry. I don't know how you feel about this, Joe or Chad or any of you. Number 3 is Magic Mike's Last Dance.
No, God damn it!
See it. Is that a comedy? None of the Magic Mike funny.
Yeah.
Let me read the summary. This is Esquire magazine summary.
The first wasn't a bad movie,
but it's also not a straight comedy.
It's not a comedy in any way, shape, or form. They have Gabriel Iglesias comes in and makes like 2 or 3 jokes, and that's the end of it.
The fact that you're on top,
Matthew McConaughey overacting.
Channing Tatum and Selma Hayek team up for a laugh-out-loud romance in Magic Mike's Last Dance. The film follows a struggling Mike Lane who is penniless after losing a major business deal, because nothing's funnier than somebody losing everything they worked for. Then he met Maxandra, I don't know, a wealthy socialite who promises to get his life back on track. Together, they travel to London to open up a new strip club. which she promises will earn a huge profit. But in order to pull it off, Mike has to find and train a new league of performers.
Oh my God. What hijinks ensue for such beautiful, big Johnson folks? The last name's Johnson, right? Yeah.
Selma.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about Selma.
Bear couldn't drag it through the woods.
Well,
all right.
Man, I'm gonna have to rewatch that. I'd say I'm gonna have to rewatch that scene in what's that vampire film?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
Dusk Till Dawn.
Number 2 is another direct to Netflix we alluded to earlier. Yeah. Murder Mystery 2.
Oh my God.
With Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston.
I'd watch it, but I hate to use this old chestnut. I feel like I'd just be lost since I don't know who did it in the first.
Now, the number 1 is one that I do need to see because I keep hearing good things.
It better be Bottoms.
The number 1 is No Hard
Feelings. That's
what
I wanted to bring up was Bottoms.
Yeah,
No Hard Feelings.
No Hard Feelings. God,
I haven't seen it. I've heard it's good, but have you seen it?
Did you? Who is this list from?
Esquire magazine.
Esquire magazine. Whoever that writer is should be taken on the street.
Now, by the way, this was published July 1st, so it was through to that point.
Screenshots from No Hard Feelings.
Yeah,
it's a great help. I saw a screenshot once of an Alfred Hitchcock movie. It was just a bird, but I assumed I got the gist of it.
No, I mean, I don't want to bet. I haven't seen No Hard Feelings, and I'm sure it's funny. It's Bottoms. I haven't seen either, but from what I've seen, I think that movie's going to be absolutely hilarious.
I like, what was the other movie that it reminds me of? It's
Booksmart.
Booksmart. I like Booksmart. So I don't. Yeah. I'm one of those people who didn't care for Bridesmaids, but I like Booksmart.
I like
Booksmart a lot.
By the way, just for comparison, I pulled up Marie Claire. The magazine has a list as well, and it has a lot of the same ones on it. Yeah, a lot of the same ones. Except it adds, apropos of earlier conversations.
Oh my God, he said it again.
Of this earlier conversations, it adds as comedies The Little Mermaid and Elemental.
I watched Elemental, and I will tell you, I enjoyed the movie, but did not laugh.
Oh, also The Blackening. They say The Blackening's an overlooked horror comedy.
It may very well be. I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah, I've seen some stuff on that. But again,
this proved my damn point.
Yeah, other than the 3 movies that I think are straight comedies, that are in the ilk that Joe and you are referencing are Bottoms, Strays, but Strays missed the ball on that one. There's also The Machine that came out this year with Burt Kreischer.
Whom I did not know really well, and I will say I got into a stand-up about 3 months ago and just burned over 3 or 4, or I guess a couple of weeks, burned over through all of the stand-up specials I could find. I think he's really funny.
I prefer, even though he's less approachable, Tom Segura. And what I find funny is they played basketball together, and that's how Tom Segura almost died.
Yeah.
Like, I watched the video of the actual injury because he showed it as part of his last special, and I'm like, oh my God, you did almost, like, it was a horrible injury.
You need to send me some Tom Segura, because everybody tells me that, and every time I try to watch one of the specials, I think there's only been a couple I've tried to get into, and I've always ended up turning them off.
I'll be honest.
Every Tom Segura special on Netflix I've watched and I love, except I haven't seen the last one. I've laughed hard at every one he's done.
The last one's where he shows the injury, like he shows the video of the injury, and I'm like, oh, yep,
I listened to his podcast. Those 2 Bears, One Cave.
Yeah,
I listened to that. It's funny. They're both funny. I think I may.
Well, the first time I watched Tom Segura, I put it on as background noise, and I didn't laugh. It's almost like it's just one of those things that you almost have to get into his cadence, because one of the things I'll share one of his terrible jokes that is borderline offensive. It is not my material. Don't hold it against me. But he's talking about his struggles to, or actually, as he says, it's not a struggle. He said, whatever you want to be called. Like if you, he, him, zer, and he's doing that. And he goes, I'll call you whatever you want. Tell me. He said, do I personally find it a little silly? Yes, but I also find badminton silly, and that's an Olympic sport.
Right.
And he does an entire thing about, so why does anybody judge any of this? And the more, like the first time I was like, meh. But when he kept giving examples, I'm like, man, he's just pointing out that everything's silly. Like, not silly. And I'm not saying wanting to be called by your name is silly. But what he does a great job of, over time you start to realize getting angry about this stuff is silly. Like
Right.
it doesn't affect, if like I think he at one point said, if you want to be called Zippy Zippy Zip Zop, I'll do it. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't hurt. And so his is very, it's almost like political comedy where politics are never mentioned.
So yeah. I'm trying to think, and I wanted to do, I had a sick kid and I didn't get the chance to do this today, but it's one of those where you're trying to get the shovel and dig deep into your memories of thinking of things that you laughed really hard or really enjoyed, or you laughed out loud. And you want to know, but it once again is not a straight comedy. It's The Glass Onion.
Oh yeah.
I didn't laugh at The Glass Onion, actually. I enjoyed it, but I didn't laugh.
I would follow around that guy for the
rest of the
month. Yeah.
Blanc, yeah, I would follow. Yeah, Benoit Blanc. Honestly, it'd be like,
and I laughed and I giggled, especially when he was like, "You're just not that bright."
Yeah, I mean, I love that scene.
Your only good idea I gave to you.
Yeah, it's just, I just love it.
I love the scene. Yeah, I love the scene where he's going off on Edward Norton's character, but I didn't. It didn't strike me as funny. It just struck me as a great dialogue.
Do you think part of it too, though, is there's not, absurdist doesn't sell anymore?
That may very well be a point.
Do you think the epic?
I think it would. It's just studios don't want to give it a shot because they have their.
But I was going to say, is it a money issue? Because
and then you have movies like Strays that bombs terribly, and that's outside the norm. So that makes each studio skittish.
But I was thinking, so let's go back to when we were high school, college, early college, mid college. The Scary Movie franchise, right? Scary Movie came out.
And American Pie.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Can't Hardly Wait and all those movies that were not really funny.
But I mean, Scary Movie came out, the first one, by the Wayans, made bank. Scary Movie 2 came out, made bank.
It has, okay, I'm not a huge fan of the movies, but my favorite scene in all of them is James Woods as the exorcist.
And Andy Richter, right?
Yep.
Yeah. One of the scenes that should not have been funny, by the way, from one of the later Scary Movies is Leslie Nielsen walking out going, yeah, something's wrong with the dogs. And there's a chariot. They're riding a chariot.
That's funny. But once again, that's Zucker's and Absurdist. That's when David Zucker started directing the third and the fourth one, and it's Absurdist. Back to your point.
But then they did Epic Movie, which was not, it was funny, but it wasn't as well, because it has that great scene where every time it's making fun of the Chronicles of Narnia, every time the beaver pops up and goes, what I think we should do, she kicks him and screams, talking beaver. I laughed at that, but that was everything from there forward.
Find any of those funny? Because
no superhero movie. I couldn't even watch
that's
them.
what I mean. By the time it got to superhero movie, and I like Silence of the Hams, but even by the time it gets to superhero movie, I'm like, this isn't funny. Like it's not. Epic Movie was, to me, the switch was turned. Like it wasn't doing what Scary. I laughed at her kicking the talking beaver every time. But other than that, it was like, no, this is played out. We're done. And then by the time they did superhero movie, and I guess that's my question is, it's a problem that this sounds like, oh my God, things were better when I was younger, but it's not. It's a problem that, I don't mean it that way, at least, is that, as Joe was alluding to, we can't afford to take risk. Like it's easier to put it on Netflix. Or it's easier to put it on, or to stream it on, one of the low rent, blah, blah, blah. Because, and I know what some people listening to this might be saying. That's right. Of the four of you, one of you might be saying, well, it's because everything got so PC. I don't know if that's it. Because we're still seeing horror movies that cross those lines. We're still seeing other genres that, quote unquote, push boundaries.
I think it is part of it, because you can just do shit in a horror film you can't do in any other genre. That people just automatically kill whatever you want and walk out, and that's kind of what they do. But I think part of it is, but a lot of it is just money. What was the last studio film that was a big studio? Well, I shouldn't say big studio film, but a fairly sizable studio film that was outland. It's Borat. What was after that?
How about the Sherlock Holmes movie? It didn't do well, but I mean, how much money did that cost them to make? Because they had a pretty good cast.
The one with Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
Oh, it's unwatchable.
That's what I mean. But it had
the
some
only
budget
good scene about the only good scene, and it's not a good scene, is the movie where they do cocaine.
Do you?
I can't even remember that part of it.
All I can remember is Joe's line. All I can remember is, what's your line about medical treatment back in the day, Joe?
You have ghost in your blood. You should do cocaine for it. I want to be an old timey doctor.
But anyway, I think that's kind of the thing too. That failed, and then I think part of that is, if I'm not mistaken, somebody can fact check me on this, but I've heard, was that Adam McKay who did?
He didn't direct it.
No. But he did the long line of very successful Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly pairings, and then they had a falling out.
Mm-hmm.
And because that's my entire thing. Like, there's something about John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell together in a film where somebody told me they even had a falling out. But honestly, it's just, there's something about them bouncing line, because even I went back a while back and it was on somewhere, mm-hmm. and it was a scene in Talladega Nights of them going back and forth about how they picture Jesus, and that scene should not work. That should not make me giggle. But literally, John C. Reilly going, I like to picture him as a mischievous badger.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God, I know that line's coming every time, and just the way he says it, I like to picture him as a mischievous badger. It just works, and I think that's it. Because I guess that's the thing. Do you have to have clout to get that to work? Because honestly, if you were a studio head and you need to make money and does that read as funny on the page as John C. Reilly delivers it?
I don't know, but Anchor, yes, comedy is hard. Comedy's the hardest thing to make. We all agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
It's the hardest thing to do.
Because you can't follow formula.
You can't, and you just can't. Oh my God, there's
a reason why stand-up comedians record their specials and then immediately start a new routine.
Yeah, it's just in its rhythm, and it has to be unexpected, and it's just so damn difficult to be funny.
Yeah, and like I said, and then because once you've seen it, you can't go make another movie with the same beats, because it's been done. It's no longer entertaining.
And comedy is one, and there's only a handful of straight comedies that you enjoy, but there's only less than a dozen that you can rewatch over and over and still laugh.
Yeah.
Well, and even non-comedies that prove this point, though, some of it is happy accident. Right. One of the most iconic scenes in the Star Trek franchise is in Star Trek 4, where the lady walks up.
Scotty hits his head on the thing. I know the ship like the back of my head.
That's hilarious.
No,
I laugh every time that scene comes on.
I do too. I think we should put it on for James right now. Put those Alex
not at all
Clockwork Orange on him and make him watch it over.
You know it's coming, and every time I start laughing, and I know.
Whereas I have the opposite response. I'm like, God,
I know, wow. and it irritates. And I know if we were watching it together, it would irritate you, so it makes me laugh harder.
Because he's a horrible human being, whereas I'm just a wonderful friend who wants to put them on your eyes and make you watch it over and over.
No.
We got to print a poster of that.
But
just that scene.
But Star Trek 4, the scene where they're looking
what somebody's getting for Christmas
for the nuclear vessels.
Yeah.
And the lady comes over and goes, "They're in the nuclear vessels that are in Alameda," and she goes, "They're over there in Alameda."
Yeah.
And if you don't know, if you're not a big enough nerd, that wasn't scripted. That was an actual lady. They had to chase her down to get her to sign the release.
Yeah, because they shot it candid camera style.
Yeah, but Leonard Nimoy, you can watch the behind the scenes on it. He goes, "There's nothing we could have done better. We were just going to have him keep asking, and eventually a police officer was going to pull up, and we were going to cut or something along those lines." But What's more, oh my God, they're in modern 20th century than this lady getting frustrated about hearing a mask over and over, storming over and go, they're over there because that's where Alameda is. That's not how she says it, but that's what happens. And
James quoting Star Trek incorrectly.
It's just it was perfect. And if you watch that now, even with new fans or new people that's never seen it, because it is probably the most approachable Star Trek because it's the one with the whales.
If you had a quarter for every time you've gotten mad when you've heard, is that the one with the whales?
Yeah. Anyway, but I think that's it. All right. I mean, I think that's a happy accident. And if you go back and watch a lot of behind the scenes commentary, I think there's sorry, I got the hiccups all of a sudden. Mel Brooks even talks about it in a couple of his. That was a happy accident. It just happened to work that way. Certain scenes. I mean, it was scripted to be funny, but then X would happen and it made it better.
Right. It's just tough, but at the same time,
ship like the back.
They just don't.
I'm watching it on YouTube.
I am so glad they stopped making Police Academy films. Matter of fact, I hope they go out of print, Chad. I hope they go out of print, and for a rare occasion, I hope they come and pull yours off your shelf.
Well, no, you just have to eat a bunch of candy corn once a season to be able to get to watch it. So we don't spend money. People don't go to the.
You know what? The only thing funnier than Scotty hitting his ham bone.
Ham bone.
Oh,
still can't believe you all didn't know that. But anyway,
which actually, I guess that's another question.
People don't go to the theater, and the only way they get them to is by putting Tom Cruise on the side of an airplane at 50,000 feet. And I'm slightly exaggerating, but I'm not really overly exaggerating.
Well, which I guess
I wish does Top Gun Maverick have a scene where he goes, "I know this plane like the back of my head."
No, but as bad, it's not a great movie, but for some odd reason, that's one of those that it is enjoyable because for some odd reason, it fires on all 8 cylinders. It hits all those notes, and you're like, oh, that was enjoyable. I get why people went, and I bet it was even better in the theater on the big screen.
But I guess this leads to another question. We have children, allegedly, that are ours.
Well, we have children we pay for.
Yeah. And you've actually just made me think about something. What comedy shows are there for kids? Like we had Saturday morning cartoons. Not all of them were funny.
There's a few. There's scenes in them that are funny.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. There's no like we had depending
Night
on
Court.
I'm talking about shows meant for children, not just shows that we watched because we could.
Night Court was meant for children.
I don't think it was, Chad. Go back and watch.
It had Wile E. Coyote in it.
Yes, Chad. Anyway, the point being the
Pee-wee's Playhouse.
But that's not modern, you know what I mean? Like there's no like I'm talking about what do your kids watch that was made in the last 2 years it's a comedy?
Most of it
watch Abby's been watching like Nickelodeon sitcoms
but that's not I mean it's a sitcom, but it's not. I'm talking slapstick. Looney Tunes type stuff, because we had Ren and Stimpy, we had that were stupid, absurdist, blah blah blah. There's very little absurdist left.
Sir, it's low. It's not that high level of absurdness, but Henry Danger has a lot of slapstick in it.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one. I've seen an episode or two with my kids. But I was thinking about that was.
But it's nowhere near that level of slapstick. It is watered down nonsense. But again, this is me, a 40-year-old man.
Yeah,
watching a show meant for 8, 7, 10 years
I guess the closest there was, and I don't know if they're making new episodes or not because my kids have gotten a little bit past
Witterhand. Sorry.
Started thinking of what?
Witterhead. Old Witterhead.
I was about to make the counterpoint. Of course, we watch trash too. I mean, literally, how many times can you watch that damn Roadrunner and the stupid ass Coyote do the same things, ridiculous things?
It was a super genius.
I get it, but even they changed that up a little bit. I started thinking of Foghorn saying,
"No," but actually, I was saying for a while you had Teen Titans Go, which I know some people weren't a fan of because it wasn't Teen Titans enough, but it had a lot of slapstick.
Oh yeah, you're right. That I mean, it's still going.
Is it? I
It's
took my kids when they did Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and actually I had a blast with it.
Yeah, you're right, James. That is modern day slapstick because both my kids love it. We watched it. We watched it repeatedly on vacation.
We went. I mean, Dana went with us. We went to see it when Teen Titans Go to the Movies came out, and there's entire scenes in that literally we all laughed.
I mean, if you're talking about animation, I mean, there's The Amazing World of Gumball, which is hilarious.
Is that recent though?
I mean, yeah, they're still producing new episodes.
Are they? I didn't know they were making
another one.
I enjoyed Milo Murphy's Law, which has a lot of stupid slapstick, Weird Al type humor.
Any of your kids watch Big City Greens? I'm not a huge fan.
They like it.
Yeah, my eldest is having her second renaissance into cartoon because for a while it was like, no, I need to be mature, and now it's oddly enough anime, and she's watching the older anime stuff, but then the flip side, well, and that's what I was saying. Like I told Dana, because she reads the mangas, and like I read them with her because I'm like, I want to know what you're reading. Yeah, manga.
It's manga. I just like being an asshole.
I know. I've known you for years. I figured it.
Oh yeah.
Solved the mystery. Anyway, Demon Slayer. I don't know if y'all have watched or read.
I know what it is. I have not seen it.
I have interviewed so many voice actors from it.
It is very much and I've only read the manga. It is very much in the same vein to me, and we've had this conversation I think before, maybe Chad. It's like the early Spider-Mans, or Static when Static came out. Except this one has more of a family vibe. That's his sister. She is becoming a demon, but she's somehow slower to fully, and he's trying to find a cure, but at the same time, he won't stop helping people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot. I told Dana, I'm like, if this is what she's reading and this is what she's getting some morality from, stands up for his family, fights people that wants to hurt people. That's an okay lesson. I'm fine with that one. Yeah. After recording, I need to tell you all something because I need to tell somebody. But anyway, the point being, and so I think that's it. But back to the point about comedy, I don't know.
There just isn't a lot. There's a lot of stand-up specials. You've never had more access to stand-up specials.
Oh yeah.
Now.
Remember when that used to be like Friday night there'd be a stand-up thing, then you had Saturday Night Live,
and you know you'd have HBO show,
and HBO would do a special like George Carlin special, but it wasn't every week,
and it was a big thing. It would come on right after on HBO's on Saturday. They always had the movie of the week on Saturday. If you're lucky enough to have HBO, that'd be the premiere, and there sometimes would be, oh my god, it's a twofer because there's an HBO comedy special after.
But you're right, because I can remember they used to use it as a way to get new subscribers. Like they would say, George Carlin's new comedy special is going to drop next month. You better get your subscription in.
But the other thing you all got to realize too is the movie industry is cyclical. I mean, there's eventually going to be a comedy that sneaks in, just entertains the masses, and then there's going to be a new renaissance of comedies that come out. It's just a matter of time. We're just not there at that point because everybody's the prime directive is superhero movies or action. It's not
actually Chad. The prime directive is don't interfere with planets that are less developed than you.
Oh, I gotta go watch that YouTube video. I got it right here.
I won't argue with you. The only thing is I don't know. It is cyclical. I don't.
And the other thing is
we'll have time to get it.
Well, hold on.
Let's know that people in 20 or 30 years.
Let me make a prediction right here. And if this actually comes back, you all both owe me a Coke out of principle. We're just waiting for Weed Fest, gentlemen. I'm not. The sequel to Beer Fest. Yeah, that's what evidently that's going to be what turns it. By the way, I actually was thinking
because everything they have released has been hysterical.
No, I was about to say it hasn't, but I will admit I watched Quasi.
There's nothing funny about that, James.
I laughed twice.
Oh god!
I watched the first 10. Man,
I was
older and turned things off.
I was having a terrible.
Well, that's the problem. You're only getting 10 or 20 minutes in, Joe. You should at least give it a little bit longer than that.
I am middle aged, and there's only that time I have for shit. And if I'm sitting there and we're 10 or 20 minutes into it, and
you are now though at the point where I was about 6 years ago, right? Because the age of your kid. Whereas I couldn't watch stuff because my kid was around.
Oh, I don't have. I only have X amount of hours in the week.
That's what I mean.
I only
that's
have
what I
an
mean.
hour or two each night.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. So back in the day when I was like, I didn't see that. I was behind. Now I'm on the opposite side of that because my kids are older and they go to their room and play video games or watch their own TV. And I'm like, well, I can do whatever. And so now I'm watching stuff all the time. But Quasi worked for me because again, Chad, low expectations. And B, I'm like, honestly, it's kind of. I think the Broken Lizard guys and Super Troopers 2 was not great. I wanted to see it. I did see it. I was one of the backers for it. But I think I just like Broken Lizard.
$5 American.
I like Broken Lizard too, but
well, and you know what it is for me when you all aren't around. That's the closest to what it is when we hang out. Like they're stupid back and forth, even when they're playing roles. And I think what I enjoyed more, Chad.
We were funnier.
What I think I enjoyed more, Chad, is if you watch the special features that are on the thing, if you go to the bonus features or whatever, it's them talking about planning it. And they literally go through and them arguing over. I didn't want to play two characters, but I forget which one I'm directed this one. It wasn't Jay. It was one of the other guys.
I think it was a Ginger.
Yeah, and he and
no, it was the big guy Kevin Heffernan.
Yeah. And it literally cussed him, and he said, "I just went too bad. We ain't casted anybody else. We got to get this made." And all I could picture in my mind was Joe Lewis saying, "This has got to get done."
Yeah, I know. We have to shoot it. It has to be shot. It just has to be done.
And that's what I mean. And honestly, in that moment, Chad, I think that's why I enjoyed it because I was like, it was. I was having a bad day, and I was like, "This is the closest I'm going to get this evening," because I watched it here, away from you all.
See, and I think that's what did me. I think that's what did me
just,
in.
It was comforting. It was
because I turned on my streaming.
Hilarious.
I turned on my streaming service, and I didn't even know this movie existed. And it was right there, movies for you. And I'm like, oh my God, it's a Broken Lizard movie. I didn't know they had this. I watched and I turned it on, and then it was painful. I lied. There are a few scenes at the very beginning where I laughed. And then after that, it was just.
I love the fact. I think the reason I liked it, actually, I can hit the nail on the head for you, Chad. You know why I laughed? Why I enjoyed it? I didn't laugh too much. I laughed a couple times. The reason I enjoyed it is, unlike Disney making, like when they do a live action Hunchback of Notre Dame, it's just going to be their animated one made live action.
Yeah.
The gents at Broken Lizard, who I do admire and I do enjoy, like I said.
I do admire them for getting their vision, and I don't have a better way of putting it, for getting their shit out there and doing it outside of the studio system.
Yeah, and working. But anyway, I admire them, but also it's just one of those things that they took the mythology, the famous novel, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, of which there have been 4 billion adaptations, silent films that are epic, all that stuff. And they went, oh, that's a great story. Now we're basing this on this guy's roommate. If you watch the behind the scenes, that's actually, he had a roommate that always did that kind of hunched over and where he does the like one eye bigger than the other. He goes, that's not us doing Quasimodo. That was my roommate that I always made fun of. and I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Now they were like, we need a hitch, and they even say in the making of, I think, if I'm remembering, we wanted to finally do a historical movie, and then we thought about him, and we all started giggling that we should make our version of Quasimodo. And I'm like, yeah, because they took no time to actually read The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I mean, they may have. I'm not knocking it. But like I said, I enjoyed it. I'll probably, if I need just comfort noise, I'd put it back on again. But yeah, no, so I guess that was my one. But I think that's, going back to what we were talking about, I think comedy is just daring. Yeah. And I think it's hard to be daring right now.
I agree.
With money.
100%.
With money. I mean,
well, I will say this: daring in anything, guys.
I will say this though, it's not a straight comedy. It is a comedy, but it's not like, hee haw. If you all have not seen
Pearl,
if you all have not seen They Clone Tyrone yet, it is. That
amazing. Was actually on Marie Claire's longer list. That was on it too.
Okay, it is. It's pretty amazing, and Jamie Foxx is hilarious in that movie.
I do want to see it. It was.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I mean, it's
the trailer for and thought, I'll check.
It's sorry to bother you. It's in the same guise of Sorry to Bother You, which, by the way, that's another I didn't laugh as hard as I did it with Sorry to Bother You, but man, I'm a Virgo was great too this year in terms of comedies, but that wasn't really a comedy.
Yeah. Well, and that's it.
Michael Epps finally did something that made me laugh, so that was good.
I guess that's just what I need. I guess I miss absurdism. I miss the Marx Brothers. I miss Brain Donors.
Doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Mel Brooks doesn't exist. I got it. The two of my biggest influence, well, three of my biggest influences, probably Python, Mel Brooks, and
Taco Bell,
and Python, Mel Brooks, and George Carlin.
Yeah,
yep. Those were my three.
I think those three encapsulate. If you knew me and you know what I think is funny, then that's it. And they don't exist. George Carlin, of course, there are still some Pythons left, and Mel Brooks is still alive, but these people don't make the same. The outputs the same. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's it too, because the same way, like I love the Marx Brothers. I actually put one on the other day and had a ball with it, because there's parts of it that are dated, but there's still parts of it that are
hilarious,
that are just, and the wordplay is still on point. I mean, the stupid, and I think that's what gets me is really clever wordplay, and I think that's what Mel Brooks did really well. Is yes, he had the slapstick, yes, he had the bean scene, yes, but he also could turn a phrase and make it hilarious, and even the people that followed him and more or less were apprenticed to Ezio Greggio. One of the reasons I do love Silence of the Hams, and Mel Brooks was a big model for him to follow, and Mel Brooks has a cameo in the film, and then they did a couple movies together. But there's the entire scene that gets me in that movie, and I giggle every time. And it's another scene. You talked about how hard it is, Chad, to make it work, to see something time and time again. There's a scene where he is supposed to be, it's an allusion, of course, to Psycho. She's in the hotel, and he's trying to basically not seduce her, but try to set her up to be murdered later. And he said, welcome, blah, 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 blah. Are you hungry? I have prepared dinner. Well, yes, I'm ravished. Fine. Do you like tacos? Yes, tacos would be fine. Too bad I made spaghetti. It gets me every time. It is the stupidest line on the planet, but it's just so absurd. Like, why would you bring up tacos if you made spaghetti? We don't have anything even doing that. And that's not to the level of Mel Brooks. That's not to the level of but we don't even have anybody doing anything like that is such an absurd throwaway line that it works.
So the only good thing, and we do need to wrap it up, the only good thing that I will say that I do look forward to is that the three biggest movies of this year, or for the first time in 20 years, are not sequels.
Yeah.
But two of them are still based on IP, intellectual property.
Well, and the final thing I will say,
Barbie are still.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this, and that's one of the things I read a great review commentary, I guess, about the problem is the studios are looking at Barbie and going, oh, the audience wants to see toy movies. And the analysts went, no, they're misinterpreting that. They want to see movies that have interesting female characters and interesting commentary and interesting. It's not just, oh, it's a Mattel toy. We need to license every Mattel toy and make that into a movie. This need to latch onto what's easy. It may be what's killing the studio, that and their inability to pay writers.
Yep. And with that, welcome to Bonehead. We're just now getting started. This is hour 6.
It's a standoff.
See ya.